All right, third try of this video because Puppy's been. So, and I was just working down here. I did all sorts of work. Anyways, moving on. So I wanted to make this video, and this is going to be like emergency case video. And I had someone messaging me earlier with with a good question, like, oh my gosh, my fish jumped out of the tank. What do I do? I found it, but what do I do? And so then I also want to address another issue, and that would be because the resolve is pretty much the same. So let's say that you're doing a water change all of a sudden and you're not listening to my advice, and you're running substrate, filters, and everything else, and you're like, oh my gosh, something's happening and my fish are starting to act strange, what do I do? Or even after the water change, at any given point throughout time, if you are seeing this, or let's say you didn't even, like I said, let's say you didn't even do a water change and all of a sudden you're like, my beta's acting so bizarre, what do I do? And so here's what I want you to do in every single one of these, like every single scenario you can think of with surrounding pretty much any of this. Even, oh, my heater's malfunctioning, like anything. So what I want you guys to do is grab even just like, if you got a 1 gallon water jug or something like that, great, use it. And so if you have a 5 gallon bucket that's clean, great, use it. And then I want you guys to grab your bucket or 1 gallon thing, or if you don't even have something that big, fine, use the biggest object you can find, and then just fill it with fresh water. And you're going to obviously, if you're not using roadie water, you're going to condition the water and stuff like that. But then you're going to add a little bit of salt, and let's say, just for some examples here, you're using a 5 gallon bucket, you're filling it to 3 gallons, then cool, I want you to take act like a full pinch and just throw it in there. If you're using 1 gallon and it's 75% of the way full, great, then I want you to use about, about that much salt. So, if you're measuring that out, it's going to be about 1/8 of a teaspoon, maybe a 1/16. In between any one of those, you're going to be fine. So then you're going to add a catappa leaf or your extracts or whatever it is that you are running. You could even use guava or something like that. Whatever it is that you're using that I recommend for your betas to be conditioned in. If you're not using anything, then tisk, and you need to be. And so then you're going to throw that in the water, and then you're going to take the betas immediately and put them in that. Don't worry about the heat. Don't worry about anything else. The objective here is to save the betas. So first things first, get the fish out of the water and into another body of water. In any one of these things, including the fish jumped out because it wasn't happy with something in its environment. Or let's just say too, you were doing water changes and startled it, then fine, okay, cool. But let's, any other scenario other than you made it jump, then great. So then it goes in a separate body of water. If if you're doing maintenance and stuff and very clearly you made it jump, then obviously just put it back in and add the salt, add everything else, and then fill it all the way back up. Do the biggest water change you can possibly do so that it's like the freshest you can get. But anyways, so yeah, that's what I want you guys to be doing. So get the fish out of the water and into another body of water with the catappa leaves or what extracts that I have or something like that, whatever it is that you're doing. And then a little bit of salt. Leave it there. Don't feed it while it doesn't have heat. Let it stay. It will be fine. Let it stay. Next, go to your body of water. Whatever that body of water is, I don't care what it looks like, no substrate, cool. Dump the whole thing. Let's say that you do have substrate, cool. Then you're going to have to go in and actually do a 100% water change. And you're going to have to just clear house. And then what you're gonna, the reason why you're doing that is because you have to alleviate all the gases. You got to alleviate all the debris. You got to, get your dissolved organics down. You got to get everything else. Now, if you're running a bunch of plants and everything else, good luck. So that's one of the reasons why I don't, really advise that kind of stuff. But, or especially a soil but just the same. So what I want you to do, if you have the substrate, is I want, no substrate, cool. Dump the whole thing, fill it back up. You're good. Done. I will say that if you're starting with ideal water and you are not running substrate, you're not running anything else, they will not jump. So unless if they're like, you would have to literally startle them. I don't have a top on any one of these. They have 1.5 to 2 inch lip. I've countless of thousands. You know, they're not going to really jump, but let's just say there's something in there that's getting them to jump. Could even be your heater. Maybe your heater's leaking voltage too. That could be another thing that you could test. But you know, if this didn't resolve it, then it might be your heater. So you should check that. You know. But anyways, so you're going to, if you have substrate, you have filters, any of that, you know, so what you're going to do is you're going to fill it all the way back up. You're going to drain it down, fill it all the way back up. You're going to gravel back every little thing. You're going to stir it up. I want you to literally clean the entire thing. Entire thing. Then you can put it all back together, fill it all back up. If you're using the filter, put the filter back in, you know, get it all back up, fill the thing, you're good. Then you can put the beta back in and test it. Only then. Don't go, you know, and be like, oh, I did a 50% water change, I'm good, and put your betas back in. Don't do that, because you know, if you expose it to more of those gases or something, you're not going to be doing any favors to it. And so, like I said, you just basically need to get the beta into a separate body of water with the extracts, with the salt. Don't feed it while it's not heated. If you do have a small heater and you can heat it, great. Then have at it. Make sure that your situation is completely resolved, and then put them back. But you know, that's realistically the answer for any of these issues that you could possibly run into. For example, sometimes, but I already run the same thing that I'm telling you guys to do all the time anyways with individuals, but let's just say you have an individual that you're doing a water change on, like a 1 gallon or even a 5 gallon, and it comes out and hits the floor. Cool. I just put it back, put the salt, put the extracts, I rinse, fill it back up, and I'm good. Like, that's it. And then I have yet to actually have one not just be okay. The only time you're gonna see them not be okay in a situation like this is if you didn't see it for who knows how long, and then they're all dried up. But past that, you're gonna get an immediate result. Most of these issues, you can get literally the fish in perfect health by just getting it out. Let's say that you're seeing, I mean, there's so many things that you can do this with, literally. I mean, it's a whole other video on like treatments and stuff too, if you're not following my advice to a T. I mean, you can literally get your beta to perfect health the absolute fastest by literally having it in a 1 gallon thing. Go buy a crystal. I'm just gonna throw this out here right now. Throw, the odds of you, if it's not like Popeye, if it's Popeye, good luck. If it's Dropsy, I'm not even going to advise you on that, because I think it's kind of cruel to sit there and try and treat them for that, and I don't care if someone has, even if they succeeded, you're not going to actually get them to stay that way long term. Odds are, and I mean, in the big picture here, it's a pretty much waste of time, and in most of the time, like most cases, all you did is basically torch it with some chemicals before it dies, and that's about it. So I'm sorry about your luck, but here's what I can say about Dropsy or Popeye is fix the problem. And the problem is usually always in the environment. So if you're following what I teach to a T, the odds of you seeing that are almost zero. Literally, like almost zero. Even if you threw into a scale of thousands, it's almost zero. You'll see it, but very, very, very rarely. Anyways, though, so let's just, stick jumping back. And sorry if the videos are I'm not a professional YouTuber, all right? And honestly, I don't even care to be. I'm just trying to inform you guys and actually get some stuff out there. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, kudos to those who do, whatever, that's their own gig, but it's not mine. So anyways, so you're going, like, let's say, even fin rot. Let's just say fin rot. Well, fin rot, for one, you should absolutely never be seeing. Like, if you're seeing fin rot, you're breaking the rules. I'll tell you that right now. If you see fin rot, you are breaking the rules. You will not. I do not care how many thousands of them you have, because you are breaking the rules, and you did not do your maintenance, and you're probably running substrate, or you had them without, like, in like a 1 gallon, filled up 75%, you went 6 days, 7 days, multiple times in a row. Even then you should not, on PK, if you're seeing fin rot, there's some big problems. But let's just say, because I've tested every little bit of this to the utmost extreme. So let's say you're, half moon. Half moon, yeah, good luck. You cannot do that. You will not, like. So, just the same. In every one of these scenarios that you could think of, your best bet, get them out of the water, put them in something clean, fresh, small. Seriously, like 2.5, 3 gallons is as big as you should be moving them to. I don't care what, anything. No surrounding factors. That's what you should be shooting for. Ideally, you wouldn't have them in less than 3/4 of a gallon, but you could do like half a gallon for a relatively short period of time. But yeah, so like I said, any one of these scenarios, then you're just going to be getting them out, get them in a fresh body of water, get the little bit of salt in there, get the extracts or the catappa leaves. Next, on that individual container, depending on your situation of how long until you actually get the problem resolved, what you're going to be doing is every 3 days, you're going to be doing water changes. Every 3 days. You're going to do whole water changes. 100%. That's all you're doing in the meantime. If you don't have heat, then don't feed. They will be fine for up to a week, like without any adverse effects. They will be just fine if they're healthy. Even if they're like, some kind of scenario where, there's like some immediate, like, oh, what happened now? Then they should still live for 1 week without food. Seriously. Like, they will be fine. But, if... Sorry, I'm also, like, really burnt out, but I'm trying to get these videos knocked out for you guys. This is a bit of a mess, but it's all I got, so who cares? Anyways, if you have scenarios like fin rot or something like that, where you're seeing bacterial issues on your fish, for example, like I said, you're going to be removing them, put them in a separate body of water. Now, every 24 hours in any of those cases, you're doing a 100% water change. Now, I want you guys to be doing that no matter what. No matter what. Next step, I want you to be taking some ICX. Do not mess with the other brands. Don't mess with it. You're taking ICX, putting 1.5 times recommended dose within your body of water. Let's say that the 24-hour water changes aren't working and seeing a noticeable improvement after day 3. Then you're going to grab ICX. You're going to put 1.5 times the treatment in there. And you're going to continue doing the exact same process that you were doing. You're going to keep doing it. And then after 3 days more, if you are not already seeing, fine, cool, problem resolving. And the reason for this is ICX does a lot more than what they, than what they're realistically, being like, hey, use this. It's not actually, as a matter of fact, like, yes, it works for it, but it works even better for a lot of other things for betas. But, so anyways, then what you're going to do is after 3 more days, so this is like a 9-day thing period, and at the point it's gone to 9 days, if you're not seeing this, you just call it quits. Like, you're doing something massively wrong. So seriously, take your combination that you're doing and then add nitrofurazone. Furon 2 is no longer both furons. It's from API. It's actually just nitrofurazone. But if you're like me and you use Gemco, you can just get pure nitrofurazone, no problem. And you're just going to add that to your treatments, and that's what you're going to do. And you're just going to have that be it. Temperatures, while it's ideal for them to be up, I have tested, you will still see the improvements in your fish. You know, obviously having them being fed and heated is a much more ideal situation, but we're just saying here in the case that you can't do one of these things and you're like, I have no choice because this went to craziness, so I have to keep it, you know, separated. Great. Then just make sure that you're maintaining that thing as best you can. Don't, you know, if your temps are below 80, even if at 80, I would feed them like so little. But realistically, anywhere below there, just refrain from feeding. They'll be fine, they'll still get better, everything else. Obviously, heated and fed is a much more fast track. But you will still be seeing this. Seriously, guys, like this is pretty much what you should be doing in all these things. And I know that this video got a little bit stretched out for you, but realistically, this is seriously like the bulk of every issue that I see. And this is what should be happening. Oh, I'm noticing something weird. Oh, I'm noticing this. Cool, it's a substrate filter. They'll argue for a while, then they'll remove it all, and suddenly fish is better. Like, you guys, I've done this like I don't even know how many times, and this is literally how it always goes. And so, like always. And so, you know, use these steps. If you're following my guidelines, realistically, you're just, none of this stuff's gonna be a problem for you. And you know, maybe you spook it and it jumps. I find that unlikely, but if you did and it did, then fine. I'm not saying it's impossible because it is possible. So, you know, I have actually had where I flipped the lights like months, probably like a year and a half ago. I flipped the lights and look, and I was like, oh, you know, so it can, but odds are pretty small. But anyways, seriously, if you're following the instructions that I teach and everything else, you're keeping them no substrate, you know, fine, you want to float a plant in there, I don't care, just no substrate, no filter, run the waters like I'm saying, and it's going to be smooth sailing. So anyways, that's all I have to say for an emergency situation. That's what I want to see you guys doing every single time you have something. Should be, for most, never, but let's just say you get into there, this is what you need to do. Number one, seriously, that's what you need. Salt, extracts, fresh water, bam. No heat, no food. Heat, food. That's simple. You know, water changes, you know, bacterial stuff or something like that, great. 24-hour water changes, redose everything that you're putting in the water. Then if you don't have any of that and it just jumped out and, you know, everything else, cool. Water changes every 3 days. Resolve the issue in your tank. This is all you really need to do. So I'm going to end this video now because this is like way ringed home, you know, it's way overkill for this. But this is seriously all you need to do. And in most cases, if this, besides parasitic problems, if these steps here didn't actually solve your problem, nothing's going to solve it. Seriously, nothing's going to solve it. In the big picture, drop it. You'd have lost it anyway. Regardless of what you did or didn't do, drop it. All right, I'm going to end this video.